Today, the innovation we're going to look at is the creation of the recruitment industry. It's the photo that I've chosen to show that is a photo of a couple of people sitting around waiting for a job interview. It's a classic photo demonstrating, I guess, what's at the heart of the problem, which is trying to help people and find them a job. As an innovation helps to solve a problem and adds value. And the problem that occurred to make this an innovation or create the opportunity for this was World War II. In the 1940s, Hitler invaded Poland, which created ultimately a massive skill drainage of the world. Over 100 million men were involved in World War II. So with that problem came an opportunity, or came a need, and that need was businesses just really couldn't find good employees. And the recruitment agencies popped up to fill that need. Where they added value was not only could they solve that problem, businesses started to find that, finding the right person and not having all of that opportunity cost associated with trying to search and find and advertise and shortlist and attract people into your business, it was worth paying. And it's that reason why it's an innovation. The reason why the recruitment industry is an important innovation is that it's changed our behaviours. In the world today, have you been employed by a recruitment agency? Or is your business benefit from using their services? The answer is probably yes. Most of us will have, been involved in them some way, shape or form. I suppose that's evidenced by the fact that people estimate it to be worth over 85 billion worldwide. In Australia, IBIS World say it's circa 3 billion. It's a big industry. It's touched most of us in some shape or form. And really importantly, people are important. And what the recruitment agency really does is it tries to help find the right person, the right job, and that ultimately helps to shape the world in which we live in.
During the war, there was a massive supply and demand disruption of the labour force, an unprecedented disruption. It was simply out of balance. As Dave has explained, the needs of industry were completely consumed by the war effort, draining all men to military roles. This imbalance, I've chosen a photograph of my pool chemicals at home, which reveal clearly an MBA student's pool chemicals being out of balance, and it needs a solution. The solution that the war for talent created was the opportunity for innovation through the recruitment industry to bridge the supply-demand chasm through a new industry.
Yep.
A couple of other factors of the economy at the time really spurred on the innovation. The mobilisation of workers. I've chosen a photograph of train tracks. The 1940s, during and after the war, were the golden age of railway. They moved people from an agrarian labour force and model into an industrialised and urban model. And this facilitation of labour movement was an enabler for recruiters to have a fertile marketplace to play in. There was also a social mobilisation was occurring. The role of women, as David explained earlier, there was a dearth of workers available, and historically the women had been the homemaker on the farm or in the home. Now a new opportunity arose. Innovation recognised that the problem of men being consumed by the war effort left an opportunity for women to backfill many of those roles. The shift in enabling women to come into industry was enabled by reaching them with mass media through newspapers, radio. I've taken a photograph of a modern classified listing service in the newspaper, which is the sort of mass communication technique for recruiters still used today that was born out of the wartime era. We know in innovation theory the correlation between technology advancements and innovation, but there was a technology macro that was occurring around the war and after the war that was a stimulus to the recruitment industry. I've taken a photograph of a modern microwave oven. A lesser known fact is the microwave technology is one of the spin-offs, one of the many spin-offs of technology that came out of the wartime era. This fueled a new need for specialised labour, for science, for industry, for non-commoditised roles to perform these R&D heavy industries. And the specialist recruiter had new skills a new value proposition to match this talent for industrial and scientific roles into a burgeoning industry and scientific organisations.
Job seekers' only choice used to be to search for work company by company and negotiate their own jobs. However, with the creation of the recruitment industry, job seekers can now approach a professional whose job it is to negotiate better pay, better work conditions, and things like better contracts. The recruiter's job is to make sure that it's a win-win situation for both the employer and the job seeker, and bring to the table specific professional negotiating skills that neither of these parties would normally have. So the recruitment industry has been able to offer job seekers more choice, but also more exposure to positions and industries they may not have previously had exposure to.
Network.
So employers benefit from recruiters' wider search networks to find and have access to a bigger pool of staff that employers may not have previously had. So my dad, for example, is a business owner, but he can now leverage off the resources of an external recruiter and widen their network and find more contacts to fill the positions that he's looking for. This is really an example of how recruitment has positioned themselves in the market as being a hub. In the problem-solving network of employers, they were the hub that spreads the idea to their connections. But they're also the bridge that links the two parties, the employees and the employers, together. So as the recruitment industry grew, so did their networks, and so did the benefits to employees. Employers also benefit from the selling power of recruiters to attract a higher quality of employee to a position that they may not have previously been attracted to. So through this process, businesses could not only lift the standard of their workplace, but they also improve their efficiency by limiting their downtime without employees. So in terms of who has benefited from the recruitment industry, we've got the employees, the employers, but really everyone benefits from the outcomes of recruitment. The job of the recruiters and recruitment campaigns is to spread awareness for the employment opportunities and ensure the best person for the job is being hired. In doing this, they lift the standard of the workforce and the output for the company. This has major economic advantages for industries and has gaining efficiencies when you optimise the needs of the employer with the resources of the employee. The companies are constantly on the lookout to attract the best people who will push the boundaries and take them above and beyond their competition. And we see this benefits all around us. Take, for example, the iPhone 5 that's continuing improving. We've got more fuel efficient cars and just general efficiencies in all the products that we use day to day. So an unlikely beneficiary of the recruitment industry has been the newspapers and print advertising industry. Although the adoption of the recruitment industry was rapidly on the rise in the 1950s because of the effects of the war, the adoption rate increased again in 1970 when the recruiters began to look at advertising positions in the newspapers and other mass media communications. Recruitment couldn't have been so successful as an industry if it wasn't for the mass communication mediums. As a result of this, the newspaper industry has benefited greatly from the massive amounts of money that were spent by recruiters to list their available positions in the paper. Then, over time, there have been more and more channels that have been able to profit from this innovation. So other innovations like LinkedIn have been able to capitalise on the appropriability of recruitment and generate profits not only through their own networks, but also from the revenue that advertising of recruitment brings to them.
So the modern day recruitment industry in Australia has threatened or disrupted a number of different areas. Today I'm just going to talk about 3 losers out of the introduction of the recruitment industry. The first is the public service, the second is the bad employee, the unskilled worker and minority groups, and the third is the unions. Okay. I picked a photo of Campbell Newman because I think in Queensland he's a representative figure of the public service, and I think he represents the face of the current state that the public service is in. I think the recruitment industry has really threatened the public service because employees are able to easily access information about jobs that are available across industries and sectors. I think the modern day recruitment industry has significantly threatened the level of skilled and experienced workforce in the public service. The value of job security in the public sector previously assisted in retaining the highly skilled staff, but the current Conservative government in a financially constrained environment has meant that this is no longer a draw card. So this, combined with the flexibility of individualised wages and benefits in the private sector, means that we can potentially lose public sector employees to the private sector, and the recruitment industry just enables this by making other jobs more accessible. And I think this is a real risk because it has the potential to have a significant impact on the economy, given a proportion of the overall workforce that sits in the government sector. So the photo I picked of an unskilled worker is quite obviously someone who would be a bad employee, someone you wouldn't want to have in your organisation. And I think this really, the recruitment industry and the processes put in place by the recruitment industry really puts these people at risk and makes them losers out of this. I think because it's enabled a more competitive job market, people with skills are being matched to jobs requiring skills, and it means that people who don't have skills or people who haven't functioned previously in roles are less likely to be matched to roles. I think the other globalisation has really significantly impacted the unskilled worker, as organisations can outsource. Usually you used to be competing with the person in the same city, same country. Now you're competing with people on an international scene. So the recruitment industry has enabled people to connect with other people in an international market, which means unskilled employees are at risk of being able to be matched to a job. And I think relevant also, and in this area, is the minority group. So technology in the recruitment industry has allowed for most jobs, or a large proportion of jobs, to be advertised online, and you need to have some kind of capability to access that. I think Indigenous populations, people with low literacy and disability groups are really impacted by the technology and the way that the recruitment industry is moving. So I think this is going to impact on this representation of these groups within the workforce, and I think that's a real risk for this.
That's really good.
The photo I picked was a teachers' union strike in the city that I took when I was walking by. It was conveniently occurring at the time of my walking through the city. I think unions are a big loser in the introduction and evolution of the recruitment industry. I think the industry has reinforced the culture, individualised culture, rather than the power of the collective, which the union really requires to flourish. So in a society that's shifted from this focus of the group to an individual focus, there's significant strength in recruiters working to individuals and organisations rather than industries, as do the unions. So the unions are disadvantaged by globalisation, right? They're disadvantaged by the recruitment better allowing access to an international platform of applicants. They can get the same work done more cheaply overseas, and the biggest group of people that are often members of unions are the unskilled workers, and this is the group they can source internationally. So by taking this group of the workforce out of the population has significantly decreased the power of the unions.
Yeah, and in terms of
The unions are affected because the introduction and evolution of the recruitment industry and its role in matching the right employee to the right employer at an individual level has had a significant impact on the power of the unions, and it's likely to continue into the future as the recruitment industry evolves. So the highly skilled, high income earners will continue to benefit from individualised contracts and the ease of lateral movement between organisations, and the rise of wage disparity between unions and non-union members will continue to grow, making it less appealing to join the unions. So in a society that has largely shifted to focus on individuals rather than collective group, there's a significant strength in recruiters working for individuals and organisations rather than industries, as do the unions, so this puts them at significant risk.
Well, thank you for listening to our presentation tonight. Just in closing, we just wanted to ask you a few questions, a few thoughts to yourself. We've talked tonight about the innovation of the recruitment industry as a whole, starting back in the 40s after the war. But today we're seeing a whole bunch of new innovations. We're seeing LinkedIn, social media, and we're sort of asking you to think a little bit about the recruitment industry and where it might be going. How do they have to rethink their business models? What pivoting do they need to do to realign themselves with the new technologies? Will LinkedIn make any difference? We think it's an interesting question. We're interested to see where the recruitment industry goes, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation tonight. Thanks.